Hi everyone, I'm Christine Adams, also known as Kweezy if you've been around since my streaming days. I used to stream games, now I write books. Welcome to Kweezyfiction. Be honest, are you the type to read books a lot? No? Same here, don't worry. The ironic thing is, I'm a writer and I know that I should be reading more books, but the thing is, I couldn't really get myself around it. I didn't really grow up on stories, I grew up on survival. I was too busy to survive. Also, I learned English pretty late because I grew up from Navotas, so not much people can really talk in English there. And to be honest, if they hear you speak English, they might think that you're showing off or, you'll get the look. You know what I'm saying. Plus, I didn't have anyone to speak it to anyways. But something in me knew that I would need it one day. And it turns out that I did because here we are, writing books. I just self published a book called I See You, and it's my first ever supernatural book. It's out now in Google Play Store and on my website. And honestly, I made this YouTube series for people like me who likes a good story but couldn't really read much because, to be honest, I'm dyslexic and it's hard. So, yeah, if you want to just hear what the story is about, just sit back and relax, and I'm here for you. But before we dive in, just a quick disclaimer, this is a really heavy story, and once I start, there's no turning back. It'll contain spoilers as well of the book, so if you don't like spoilers and you want to read it for yourself, you can head out on my website. The links are in the description below. Since it's Friday the 13th today, I want to give you a story about Juni, the main character or the MC of our story. Without further ado, here is the first episode of Kweezyfiction. I See You, Chapter 1. Have you ever seen something out of the corner of your eyes, but when you turn to look, it's gone? It happens to me a lot, and I wrote I See You from that specific idea. What if I tell you that you see them in your peripheral vision because you don't really see them with the blacks of your eyes? It's actually the whites. This is exactly the case of Juni in our story. Chapter 1 starts when Juni was in the middle of somewhere, and it was very dark and very misty. He couldn't really see anything except one guy, and that guy called him Junichi. Junichi, do you see me? Junichi is Juni's actual name, but nobody calls him this. Not really. Then the dream broke off. Turns out it was just a dream. And when he woke up, he's pretty pissed because he didn't really like that name. The mystery guy, as you call it, called him Junichi. And Junichi is actually the name of his father, whom he never met. All he knew about him was that he was named after him and that he left them when he was still inside his mommy's tummy. So yeah, he really hated the name. Then he got distracted because Gabby, his cat, came. Oh, do you know Gabby in Tagalog means night? So it's really fitting for our cat here because he is as black as the midnight sky. And it had different colored eyes. Juni, our MC, is just like Gabby, except that his is a secret. A secret that even his own mother didn't know. Now maybe you're wondering, how could his mom not know? I mean, that's his mom, right? Well, you'll figure it out in the next chapters of the book. But going back to Juni, Juni's left eye is pure white. So, like I said before, what if you could see demons, ghosts, the supernatural world with the white of your eyes? And we're not really sure yet if Juni could actually see from this eye. Juni decided to keep this secret to himself because he didn't want any attention. And he's also very introverted and quiet, so he didn't really want to explain himself. Now that Juni's awake, he actually had to prepare for school because he studies at Remnant University and he's right now on his junior year. His mom, Nara, sells dumplings in the market and she goes early for work. The least she could do is prepare Juni some coffee and she always boils it in the kettle. They both live in Kala 6 and it's located in Remnant City in the country of Manna. Now, Manna is actually a name of a king that lived years ago. And the coolest part about this king is that he became king when he's just 16. Imagine, 16 years old and you're a king. He's even younger than Juni because Juni is 17. Well, anyway, that's not really the point. The point is, Manna was named after this legendary king, but unfortunately, this king died at just 29 years old. But to be honest, for someone like Juni, who didn't even know who his father is, I don't think this really ever mattered to him, but that's history. So today is nothing really special. Juni prepares for school, and then before he heads out, the fax machine beeped. There was something printing from it, and after he saw what's printed, he poured some coffee, and then he headed out. While Juni was walking on the road, he hardly pays attention to what's in front of him, and he's just holding his coffee and his printed paper on the other hand. While he was walking, he didn't really notice that there was something that's following him. Well, maybe something is not the right word, but maybe someone is following him. The more he walked, more eyes were looking at him, and he's still not noticing all of this. He just kept walking until he reached the alley, and it's a usual alley that he goes to. And then something stopped him. Something huge, a man around 7 to 8 foot tall, stopped him on his tracks. But Juni wasn't really looking at this guy. He was still looking at the paper, reading what's printed on it. Then finally, Juni looked at the cup that he's holding instead of the paper. And when he looked at the cup, he just said, "green tea." And then he just went through the body of this huge man. Now, we're all very certain that this creepy man is a ghost because it's like a mist. He just passed through it like smoke. But Juni didn't seem to care. He seemed like it was just normal and he was just passing through it like it was never there. Honestly, all he cared about was that his mom kind of forgot to switch the kettle because he doesn't really drink tea. Or maybe he didn't see anything because when he went to school, he didn't really talk about it. Well, to be fair, he didn't really have anyone to talk to. So when lunchtime came, he just pulled out his lunchbox and he opened it, and inside were dumplings that were prepared by his mom. His mom always makes this because Juni loves this so much. It's his favorite. So that's all he requests from his mom. But then something stopped him from eating. There was a bully who just slapped his hand and then the dumpling fell on the ground. When it fell, Juni didn't really react, as if he didn't really care much. He seems like a weird person, yet we call this just quiet but not kind. You know what I mean? I mean, who knows what he's thinking because he doesn't really talk. But the bully didn't like this because he was thinking, I needed a reaction, bro. Why are you not reacting? He even said, if you liked it that much, then eat the one that fell on the ground too. But Juni remained unbothered. The bully even called him small eyes, but Juni didn't even flinch. He didn't really care. So the bully didn't like this, and he was about to slap his hand again. As he was about to smack Juni's hand one more time, another hand stopped him from doing so. It was a hand. The grip is so strong, could almost break it. Of course, the bully felt pissed. Because who is this guy? But the noisy classroom became so quiet and everybody were just hushing to each other. I guess that's when the bully realized that he was being held by a guy and the last person you wanted to see at Remnant University touching you. It was Red, the infamous track and field star. He's the type of guy that's known to be a villain, but a superstar at the same time. When he sees wasted food, he doesn't want to see people wasting food. Also, Red is part of Rainbow Gang, and Rainbow Gang is like a brotherhood or a fraternity that's composed of the star players of Remnant University. Basically, they're the untouchables. The bully freaked and ran away, and the students didn't want to be on Red's bad side, so they just left him alone. And now, inside the room is just Red and Juni. Now, maybe you're wondering, what is he doing here? Why is he inside Juni's classroom? He's a senior, right? So yeah, what is he doing there? That's what we're about to find out. Because he's not the only one that you'll wonder why he's friends with Juni. There's another guy that's approaching the classroom. Shortly after, all the students that were scared of Red are now in the hallway, whimpering like puppies. And it's like they're seeing something that made them cry, but not out of fear. This one is a different one. The one that's approaching is the most handsome janitor they've ever seen in their whole lives, and that's Mr. Clean. He's wearing a blue-gray kind of jumpsuit for janitors. It's his uniform, and he's also having this really beautiful blue eyes. Even though he's wearing specs, you can still see that he's very beautiful. When you see this guy, you'll wonder why he's cleaning instead of just become an actor. And on the tag of his shirt, it says Charlie Clean. Charlie's his first name, and many people call him Mr. Clean. Mr. Clean found the dumpling on the floor, and he's wondering, who threw this? It's a waste, right? So he's about to put it in his mouth. But Red freaked out, and Juni was like not really caring about it much. So Mr. Clean found out that they're all freaking out. Well, Red is freaking out. So what he did, he explained it like he's in a TV commercial. And of course, Red was like thinking, this guy is really handsome, but he's weird. But before they could even react, Juni was already in front of them, and he grabbed that dumpling and put it in his mouth. Now, Red was completely speechless. But the point still remains. Why are they there to see Juni? What are they doing there? And now the answer is they have a job together, and it's all written on the faxed paper this morning. Juni actually left this paper in front of them for them to see, and written on that paper it says Linda McClave and the address of this certain person. Now hold that thought, because we'll get back to it in a second. It's not only the two that wants to see Juni. It's also another person, someone that's dear to his heart. It's Jane. Now, Jane is a childhood friend of Juni, and she's the type of girl that's very simple but very pretty. And she didn't even have to try. She had blue eyes and always a ribbon on her hair. And she was waiting outside Juni's school. She doesn't really go to Remnant University because she's studying in an all-girls school. So she came to see Juni because she actually needed to ask if the fax machine was working. This fax machine is actually from Jane. When Juni confirmed that it was okay, Jane was asking for the payment. And because they were very close, Juni asked, what's the payment? And Jane didn't really ask for money. She asked for a favor. But Juni was taken aback by her answer because she was asking him to make a ghost go away. Now, Juni was really confused. He was asking, what makes you think I know how to do that? Well, apparently, Jane and Juni actually met when they were kids under a huge tree. And they called this the ghost tree because Jane's cat, Porgy, was stuck on that tree. When this cat was stuck on the tree, she was really confused because the cat was just a kitten, and kittens cannot really climb trees. When Juni saved Porgy, Jane believes that Juni saw something there and that there was a tree ghost or something. But Juni wasn't admitting to this. And the fact that his eye was bleeding, Jane really raised her suspicion. And she said, no, I think you really did something. But Juni said it was just an infection, but clearly Jane didn't really buy it. Looking like she will refuse to take no for an answer, Juni gave in and considered. Eventually he agreed that he'll help her. In fact, he even promised her that he will. So Jane was so happy until she gets home and Juni dropped her like normal, and Juni headed out for his other part-time job. It was already nighttime when Juni arrived at this place. He saw Red playing with his butterfly knife, or what we call here in the Philippines, balisong. The blade can be retracted or not, so it's up to your skills if you could do that. And Red is very skillful. He's been doing it for a long time already, you can tell. And Mr. Clean is there too. So now, the truth is, they're secretly friends because they're all working together. Their dynamic is really cool because Red is this superstar that didn't want anyone to know that he's friends with a janitor and a junior. And Mr. Clean, a janitor, but very handsome and really confused. And of course, Juni, that's very quiet. Their personalities really balance each other out. When Juni finally knocked at Linda's house, someone opened the door. A woman in her 60s. She has white hair and she looks like she's alone. So she asked Juni, are you the cleaners? And then Juni nodded and they were allowed to get in. But once they're finally inside, they were welcomed by this really musty smell, and you can tell the house is really old, as if it's haunted. Red refused to sit down, and he saw that the lady was visibly anxious. And he's not the type to really second guess, so he asked her straight, "What's the issue, ma'am?" And then she said, "There's a rat problem in my house." Red didn't seem to buy it. In fact, he even voiced his suspicion once the lady was gone. But Mr. Clean is very naive and he didn't really understand sarcasm, so he asked, "What do you mean?" And Red got this as Mr. Clean is just scaring him. Red, in fact, is actually the most scared person in there because he might be looking grumpy on the outside, but is very scared on the inside, especially with ghosts. But Red didn't want to admit to this, so he just said, "No, Mr. Clean, I think she's lying because why would she pay us 3K for a cleaning job?" But Mr. Clean said, then maybe it's not just one rat, but rats, as in multiple rats. When Red already gave up, he noticed Juni, and he's locked in on this specific place in the house. It's the attic. He looked up and he asked, "Where are you cleaning, Juni?" And Juni said, "I'm cleaning the attic." So there you have it, guys. That is the chapter 1 of the book I See You. If you wanted to read more of the stories or listen to me talk, you can come back here for another Kweezyfiction episode 2, where I talk about the chapter 2 of my book I See You. Let me know in the comments which character really resonated with you, or if you liked a specific scene in the story, or if you just want to say hi, drop it in the comments. I'll read every single one of them. I wrote this book because I really want to share my art to everybody, and this story means a lot to me because I wrote it when I was really in a dark place, and it means a lot to me that you're here listening to this story. So from the bottom of my heart, I really want to say thank you, and I hope you like this story. Now remember, not all horror has jump scares. Some just make you feel a little bit queasy. Thanks a lot and keep it real. Bye!